So I wanted to take a second to talk about sword grips. My knight once told me that one of the most important things that gets overlooked when making a sword is the interaction between your hand and the handle. And I found that to be true because back when I used to use a sword grip like this, I used to really burn out my forearm muscle with by gripping the grip too tight when I was throwing shots. This actually is my very first handle of my very first sword that I ever made. It's really old. You can see that there is barely any shaping to it at all. At the time, I remember thinking, man, this is really cut down. But in fact, I had a problem with jamming my hand when I'd sword block. My hand had come up into the top of my cup hilt and smashed my fingers. And that's when my knight gave me that advice, and he said, well, look at a hammer handle. So I did. And by comparison, there's a hammer handle. You can see, it's pretty thin, especially as compared to this, but then it's tapered. It's kind of oblong like that, whereas that other one wasn't. And then I started looking at historical sword handles, and I came up with something like this. It's tapered to the bottom, and as it comes up towards the top, it's a lot thicker. And I found when I did that, here's the bottom of it. I can't really see too much there. But I found when I tapered it like that, my hand stopped smashing into the top of my cup hilt. So with that taper, your hand travels up this way and it stops, especially if you just have a little grip like this, which is my basic grip when I'm holding the sword. So it just kind of stops. It kind of comes up and stops when on an impact. The last thing that really helped me was wrapping swords in tennis racket tape. It made it real spongy. It's very soft. It's easy to grip. The last kind of little trick I do, if you want to call it a trick, and it's really, I don't even know if you can even see here, but in the edge of my sword, underneath where my hand is, I put a little edge so that I can feel my knuckles when a shot is flat or not. I don't even have to look at the blade. I can just tell. You can kind of see it. It's right along here where that little ridge is. And that rests right in the gap for my knuckles. So when I throw a shot, if I can tell instantly if it's flat or not. This is my current sword. As you can see, cup hilt, I've got it wrapped. And again, it's tapered. It's really thin. You're just going to have to kind of experiment. I can't break down how many inches I've got it shaved down or this or that. You have to experiment with what feels good for you and what'll do the job. And it took me a few tries. This is probably the one that I think is the most perfect, and I use it as a model for all the rest. Also, for the way I wrap the tape, I wrap it backwards so that the ridges actually help me grip the sword further so it doesn't come out of my hand. That's really all I have to say. I just wanted to show one person's take on how to craft and make a sword grip. Oh, I forgot. I use a draw knife to do that. My very first sword grip I used a file that has a chisel on the end of it, but that really wrecked things. The first one I tried to shape, this one I really didn't do that with. I just used sandpaper. But I had a draw knife for this one. That's how you get that really extreme kind of shaping to it, is to put it in a vise and use a draw knife to get that shape. Well, thanks for watching.